non-binary person can be a lesbian because a lesbian can be whatever they want.
And now, it's time for Brad vs. TikTok, my daily segment where I take on the craziest ideas from the Clock app.
Pronoun of the day is slugs.
If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and stick around. Do hit that like button to reward my suffering as we go along. And now, let's hear one TikToker explain why non-binary lesbians are valid somehow.
Wow, this is gonna be a long one. So yeah, I'm a non-binary lesbian, and yes, non-binary people can be lesbians. They have been lesbians for literally hundreds of years. There are lots of books about lesbians dating back in history and their varying gender expressions and identities throughout that history. There are so many trans people throughout the entire world and throughout the entire history of the world. This is not a latest trend. This is not a latest fad. Non-binary people have existed for thousands and thousands of years on many different continents throughout the world. First of all, so how did they even know that they were non-binary if they didn't just feel it inside that they were not gender conforming? So here's the thing, a non-binary person can be a lesbian because a lesbian can be whatever they want. If you genuinely identify as a lesbian, who am I to say that you're not allowed to be a lesbian because of your gender? If you're a trans man, of course you're allowed to be a lesbian because I don't care what you identify as. I'm going to respect you because you're just a person, and I'm going to respect a person as long as they're nice to me. And you know what? I respect people even when they're not nice to me because it's the basic human decency thing to do, to believe someone at face value. So basically, anybody's allowed to be a lesbian as long as they just believe hard enough, like Tinkerbell taught us back in the day. Sure, can a cisgender man be a lesbian? I don't know. I've never met a cisgender man who sincerely identified as a lesbian, but I'm sure if one popped up, I would just say, okay, dude, and then play Mario Party with them, because that's what we do with people when they have confounding ideologies that disagree with ours or our previous conceptions of the world. We don't deny them their ability to think for themselves and identify for themselves. We just play Mario Party with them.
There's a lot there to unpack. First, again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The very premise of a non-binary lesbian is incoherent and nonsensical. A lesbian is a woman who loves other women. A non-binary person is somebody who's claiming they're neither a woman nor a man, neither male nor female. You cannot be both. The math does not map. And I have to laugh at this notion that non-binary is something that has existed for thousands and hundreds of years. No, babe, y'all literally made it up in like 2014. Blair White first pointed this out, but look at the Google Trends chart. There's literally zero mention of it prior to about 2014. Now, are there some historical things where people did identify outside of a gender binary? Sure, but they are not the same thing as modern non-binary whatsoever. And I cannot explain to you how irritating I find it that woke people are now saying a lesbian can be anything. Because simply put, if a word means everything, it also means nothing. This person might not realize it, but they are, whether they realize it or not, eroding gay and lesbian rights, eroding the very basis of our identities that was hard fought for to achieve acceptance. And again, this approach baffles me. Well, who am I to question anybody's identity? I'll just accept anything. I can't say what their truth is. It doesn't affect me, so whatever. No, you can say, because you're a thinking, or at least you're supposed to be, a thinking individual with rationality. So, by your logic, you can't tell if I'm a cat or not. If I say I'm a cat, who are you to say? Be so f***ing for real, my dude. Now, I actually like what this person had to say about getting along with people with different views and being respectful and coexisting and accepting that they feel some way about themselves and their own views and values. But there's a huge difference. There's a huge logical leap here between coexisting and being respectful to someone, which you should always do, and affirming what they believe, which is what this creator is telling us we should do. So if somebody comes up to me and tells me they identify as a non-binary two-spirit cat fairy, I'm still going to treat them with kindness. I'll probably try to avoid using pronouns for them to not make them actively uncomfortable, but I'm not going to call somebody fey fairs or me/ow or whatever because I'm not going to affirm and embrace ideas I think are wrong. And that's the other part of this that just blew my mind when this person said, believing someone at face value is the decent thing to do. What? Maybe this is a good example of what I always talk about. When you're too open-minded, your brain falls out. But we don't, and it has never been the expectation that we should just blindly believe each other all at face value, because that's what it means to be respectful. No, actually, we're supposed to be critically thinking individuals who go about the world with scrutiny and assess things and decide whether we put stock in them or not just blindly accepting anything anyone tells us at face value. I mean, this is a toddler's approach to the world. And I have to say, individuals like this are doing a real disservice to actual transgender people who've experienced gender dysphoria from a very young age and just want to pass and live as if they are the opposite sex as their biology. That is a real thing that has a long history and is documented and is a medical condition. And those people do deserve empathy and respect and accommodation within reason. But you're actually doing them a massive disservice by conflating with that an actual experience this made-up, fake, non-binary thing that's totally incoherent and was simply just concocted a few years ago. In fact, some of the most interesting and forceful critics of the non-binary fad have actually been some trans people and trans creators themselves. And I think that speaks volumes about the seriousness of this advocacy. You guys let me know what you think. Am I wrong? Can you be a non-binary lesbian? Should we all just accept everything anyone says and all play Mario Kart together? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button to reward my suffering.